Hope is What I Have by Khadija Mohammad, Wilbur Wright's School, 8th grade. I woke up this morning unhappy to attend school. I went to brush my teeth, but to my horror, when I looked in the mirror, my face had changed. It looked muscular, shorter hair and green eyes. I repeatedly pinched myself, hoping it was a dream, but it wasn't. It was all real. I swapped bodies with someone I know way too well. My enemy. So, a little backstory. Yesterday during lunch, someone thought it would be a good idea to start a debate whether girls have it hard or boys. And that resulted in a food fight with my enemy, Gray being the leader. After lunch, he sat next to me and started going on about how he was right and how boys have it 10 times harder. I tried not to listen, but it was hard. Let's just say we ended up in the principal's office with a 3-day suspension next week. And now here I am sitting on my bathroom floor debating what I should do. Go downstairs, tell my dad, just go to school, or call my best friend. I have no idea what to do. I sit there for a good 20 minutes until I hear my dad calling my name. I went to my room and threw a hoodie on and climbed down through my window. I walked to the only place I can think of, my enemy's house. I go through the back where his window is and hope he hasn't left for school yet. I pick up a decent-sized rock and chuck it at his window. A couple of seconds later, I hear the window open and someone with long hair peered their head out. It took me a minute to recognize who that was. It was me, but not me, since I was my enemy. Very confusing. He looked at me in horror for a second, then motioned for me to climb inside. I went inside, and surprisingly, it was clean and organized. He sat on the floor while I sat on the bed. It was silent for a few seconds until I decided to speak up. So, did we magically switch, or what? He looked at me with a blank expression. Then went over to his desk, got out a piece of paper and wrote, "I hate how your voice sounds, so I don't want to speak." I glared at him for a good minute until he gave in and spoke. "Look, Indigo, we both don't know how or when this happened, so let's just swap lives until maybe this cursed thing ends." I looked at him like he was crazy, but after a while the idea seemed quite convincing. So I agreed. It's currently 6:20 a.m. on a Friday, and I can't sleep. My alarm goes off in a couple minutes. I go to the bathroom, still not used to how my face looks. Let's see how this day goes. I hear Gray's mom call me and head downstairs. We both thought it would be a good idea if we swapped houses too and just not tell anyone about this whole situation. I walk into the kitchen. His mom is preparing breakfast, and his little sister is talking to her pet fish. Cute. I sit at the table, and his mom, or should I say my mom, sets down a plate in front of me and serves eggs, jam, and toast. Before my mom died, she used to cook delicious meals for me every day. But now that it's just me and my dad, he attempted to cook a couple times, but it ended badly. So now we just eat cereal most days, in silence. I don't think my dad has gotten over my mom's death yet. And honestly, neither have I. We ate breakfast, and I got dressed. Gray's mom drove me to school. I don't think I've ever been this stressed about school. As I was walking to school, doing my best to copy how Gray walks, I saw some of his friends, Kai, Frank, and Michael, by the school gate. They waved to me, and I waved back. As we were entering the school, I saw Gray. It was really disturbing to witness. He was standing on top of a table dancing to some ridiculous driver license song. He was enjoying this way too much. I slowly crept my way past his friend group, hoping they didn't notice me leaving. After my second class, I went to my locker to get my notebook, since Gray's notebook had little to no notes. I saw Gray talking to my best friend. I really hope he didn't say anything embarrassing. I went to my next class, hoping the day would end sooner. After that boring math class, I made my way to lunch. As I was standing in line, I saw Gray talking to my friend and having a fun time, which was surprising. I turned around and one of Gray's friends looked at me weirdly. "Am I the only one who has noticed you've been looking at Indigo a lot today?" said Kai. "And last week you kept on complimenting her," added Frank. Wait, last week we didn't switch bodies. So that means Gray complimented me. I was lost in my own thoughts before Kai snapped a finger in front of me. "Hey, are you okay? Seriously, you've been out of it the entire day." I stared at him before answering. "Yeah, I'm fine, just tired." After lunch, we headed back to our class, and this happened to be the only class I had Gray in, and we sat next to each other. I started on my assignment, but got interrupted by Gray poking me with his pencil. "What do you want? I'm trying to work," I yelled. He placed his hand over his heart as if he was hurt by what I said. "Really, Indigo, I didn't expect you to be this heartless. Why are you so mean?" He dramatically started fake crying. Great, why are you being so dramatic? He looked at me and grinned. I'm trying to replicate you. Aren't you always so dramatic, crying over stupid, silly things? I glared at him. Listen, Greer Bear sweetheart, I said, knowing he hates that nickname. Say one more word, and I'll make sure you don't live to see another day. He did not, in fact, stop talking, but I decided I would be the bigger person and ignore him the rest of the day. It was Saturday morning, and I'm sitting on Gray's bed watching Netflix. It was nice and peaceful until my phone started vibrating. I picked it up and it had Gray's caller ID. Since when did Gray have my number? I was planning on declining, but thought against it. When I picked it up, it sounded like he was crying. I panicked and did the only reasonable thing. I sprinted out of the house and went straight to mine, holding the phone. He still hadn't said anything, which worried me, but luckily our houses were close to each other. I went through the backyard and climbed to my window. I used to climb up to my window a lot when I was a kid. That's how I got the scar on my left cheek from trying to climb it. My mom even nicknamed me Spider-Man. My window was open, so I just climbed in, hoping he was the only one in my room. I didn't want my dad to think I was sneaking someone in. He was sitting in my bed just staring into space with tears streaming down his face. Maybe it was the fact that he looked like me, or that he was crying, but at that moment I would have done anything to take his pain away. I went up to him and engulfed him in a tight hug. He returned the hug, and we just stayed like that for who knows how long. Once his cries turned to sniffles, I pulled away and looked at him. I never really got to see my face closely, but honestly, I looked quite ugly. I ignored my self-consciousness and lifted his chin with my fingers. Hey, Gray Bear, what's wrong? Why are you crying? He started shaking again and stuttered out, I got a text saying my grandma passed away. I knew how close he was to his grandma, so I wrapped him in another hug and started swaying side to side, something my mom did to calm me down. He calmed down and eventually fell asleep. I laid him down on my bed and sat on the floor, spacing out. It was evening and the sun was setting. Luckily, my dad wasn't home today, so I went to the kitchen and made Gray some food. It wasn't anything special, just some pasta with garlic bread. I took it back to my room and sat it on the table beside the bed. Gray started shuffling and sat up on the bed, rubbing his sleep-filled eyes. I sat next to him and waited till he was fully awake. Wake up, sleepyhead. I made you food. He looked like a child who had just gotten the biggest Christmas present in the world. And that kind of made me happy for some reason. I watched as he slowly took a spoonful of pasta. His eyes lit up and he started devouring the tray of food. He finished eating his food and muttered a small thank you. I sat next to him and we just stared at each other. It wasn't the awkward or weird kind of stare, but the comforting and warm kind. After a while, I decided to speak up. I'm sorry for what happened. I know what it feels like to lose someone. He stayed quiet for a while before responding. It just feels like I keep losing everyone, and I don't like being alone. You're not alone, Gray. You have me. Even though you don't seem to like me, I muttered the last part. I know I was mean, but I guess it was just because I liked getting your attention in some way. I was so shocked I couldn't respond for a while. Gray didn't hate me all this time. Listen, Indigo, I know I was stupid and it was the wrong way to approach you, but maybe we can start over and get to know each other for real this time. He softly smiled at me. Gray, I would love to. I knew my dad wouldn't get home till midnight, so we stayed up watching movies and getting to know each other better. It was 11 p.m. and I decided I should go back to Gray's house. This was really fun, but my dad will be home soon, so I should get going. Gray looked kind of sad, but complied. I would love to do this again as long as we're in our own body next time. He said something after that, but I couldn't quite hear him. My eyes started going blurry, and I heard someone calling my name. Suddenly, I woke up feeling sweat on my forehead. I looked around, and I was in my room. My dad was calling my name. I rushed to the bathroom, only to be met with my own face. Then it hit me. This was all a dream. None of it happened. I threw on whatever I could find and went downstairs and saw my dad sitting at the dining table. Hey, sweetheart, how was your sleep? It was good. I'm going to be late for school. Bye, Dad. I left before he could reply. On my way to school, I had 100 thoughts running through my head. Why did I have that dream? Why did it feel so real? Why am I disappointed that it was all fake? I got to school and saw no sight of Gray. I guess he didn't come today. I got through the first half of school. On my way to lunch, I was passing an empty classroom when suddenly I got pulled in by someone's harsh grip. I looked up and my eyes met up with none other than Gray. He let go and told me to sit down. I did. I need to get this off my chest, so I'm just going to say it. Indigo, I had a weird dream last night, and it has been bothering me all day. I don't want to get into detail, but I somehow thought I should tell you. Could it be that me and Gray got the same dream? The dream didn't happen to be about us switching bodies, did it? He looked shocked but continued, yes. And I'm guessing you know the rest of the dream, right? I nodded my head. He shook his head, then chuckled. I don't know how that happened, but it did. Also, I checked in on my grandma, and she's doing fine. I was glad to hear that. Well, we should get back to lunch. I'm hungry. He nodded and walked towards the door, but stopped and came back to my small figure. He bent down and whispered in my ear. Also, I never said I didn't like you, sweetheart. With that, he left and went to the cafeteria. And I guess that gave me hope for our future.